Barbara Eden's worst nightmare came true when her son's lifeless body was found in a pickup truck in 2001. But what authorities revealed next turned tragedy into pure horror. Starring as the titular genie in I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden became a beloved icon nearly overnight. But her sweet blonde looks and bubbly disposition hid a multitude of nightmares. Born in August of 1931, Eden grew up in a musical family. She began studying voice work and acting, and by 1955 she was making regular sketch appearances on The Johnny Carson Show.
Boo-Boo's my best friend. We went to college.
Over the next decade, she worked with practically every star in 1950s Hollywood, including Lucille Ball and Andy Griffith, grinding away in supporting and guest roles first in television and then in films. There was some payoff. In 1959, she starred in A Private's Affair, and the next year was co-lead with Elvis Presley in Flaming Star. In 1957, Eden was starring in the television version of How to Marry a Millionaire and had been dating a non-actor, much to the dismay of her studio, 20th Century Fox, who wanted her to promote the show with a celebrity boyfriend in tow. The studio pulled the oldest trick in the book. They organised to have Eden go on a date with Broken Arrow heartthrob Michael Ansara. The executives thought it would be good publicity for both of them. It turned into a lot more. Neither Eden nor Ansara likely had high hopes for the studio date, so it would have been a huge surprise to both of them that they hit it off, and just a year later, they were married. But one thing was still missing. They tried to have a child, but even after 6 years, nothing seemed to be taking.
But it isn't, it isn't. It belongs to Dracula.
I see.
By the 1960s, Eden was exhausted in both work and life. But the most momentous coincidence was just around the corner.
Who's the unlucky man?
In 1964, Eden was back in a supporting role in The Brass Bottle, and its plot probably sounds familiar. A man happens upon an old brass bottle and unwittingly releases a genie.
Look out, world! Nothing's going to be the same again, as this modern Aladdin and...
One critic called The Brass Bottle about as funny as Your Own Funeral, but it would end up giving Eden everything she needed.
I suppose she's a genie too.
In the mid-1960s, producer Sidney Sheldon was trying to come up with an answer to ABC's popular suburban fantasy Bewitched for NBC. When he saw The Brass Bottle, he had an idea. Why not have a man unleash a female genie and watch the hijinks ensue?
I am yours until midnight. I would like to do something for you.
No, nothing, thank you.
Oh, please, it will make me so happy.
No.
Because Bewitched's Elizabeth Montgomery was so obviously blonde, Sheldon was determined to make his genie a brunette and thus set his new show apart from the ABC juggernaut. Since Barbara Eden was very blonde, she was out from the get-go. Except audition after audition, all the hopeful brunettes just didn't seem to understand the genie character. Finally, Sheldon caved, called Eden, and soon realised she was perfect for the part, blonde hair and all.
No, please.
Soon after Sheldon told Eden she'd gotten the role, the actress made a confession. The very day he told her she was in, she'd also found out she was pregnant at last, and her son Matthew was born in 1965. In response, Sheldon set up the show at lightning speed, and they filmed 13 episodes before Eden was even showing. Once she was, clever tricks of art direction, like draping her in fabrics or having her stand behind counters, took care of the rest.
But that's a girl. It's a girl.
In the show, Eden's character Jeannie is released from her bottle by astronaut Captain Tony Nelson, played by television legend Larry Hagman, and quickly falls in love, despite Tony's reservations.
General Stone's gonna be here any minute.
While Eden was happy with the show, Hagman was dissatisfied with the scripts and was often moody on set. At one point, frustrated at the writing of the latest episode and sick of playing second fiddle to Eden's effervescent genie, Hagman apparently threw a script down and peed on it.
The most wonderful master a genie ever had.
Well, I haven't had too much experience at this, Jeannie, but you're the most wonderful genie a master ever had.
I Dream of Jeannie debuted right before the colour age of television, and even though Sheldon wanted its first season in colour, NBC insisted it be in black and white. Colour would have cost more, and NBC didn't think the extra cost would be worth it for a show that might not get renewed past its first season. But they were in for a surprise. Against the studio's own predictions, I Dream of Jeannie was a solid performer. It would eventually run for 5 seasons and 139 episodes, spawn spin-offs ranging from comics to board games to an animated series, and have a second life in syndication. After all these years, Barbara Eden was now one of the screen darlings of the 1960s, but this attention wasn't always good. In the early episodes, Eden's high-waist costume pants would occasionally slip down and show her belly button, which concerned no one until a reporter wrote a piece about it. After this first article came out, a deluge of others followed, until NBC decided to make a formal and ironclad rule that there was to be absolutely no genie belly button on their show.
That one. She's made of ice. She could never make thee happy.
For 4 seasons, I Dream of Jeannie walked a thin line when it came to Tony and Jeannie, with Jeannie all too willing to show her devotion to Tony, and Tony desperately trying to make her see reason. In this way, the pair managed to live together without being together, a feat that was essential to the tension of the show. But in the 5th season, one disastrous plot point changed everything. They got married. After finding out about the marriage plot, Barbara Eden's stomach dropped. She knew her character and she knew the show, and this went against everything that worked about it. The show, already floundering with audiences, didn't pick up after the wedding, and it was cancelled by NBC. Since the beginning of I Dream of Jeannie, Eden had been raising her son Matthew, trying to have another baby, and also trying to keep the equilibrium in her marriage. While Eden became a star on the show, and Sarah was working less and less. It began causing tension in the marriage, but it was a tragedy that would break them. Around the time of Jeannie's cancellation, Eden was pregnant again. She carried the baby for 8 months before it was stillborn. Up until now, all Eden had known was working and building her family. In the face of this shattering blow to her personal life, as well as her uncertain career prospects after the end of Jeannie, she threw herself into work, starring in no fewer than 3 television movies in the coming year. During this time, she later described how she fell into a deep depression. In 1974, Eden went through another heartbreak. After years of difficulty in their careers and their private lives, she and Michael and Sarah filed for divorce.
This is the beautiful star of the television comedy series I Dream of Jeannie.
The next era of Eden's life isn't well publicised, and for good reason. It was one of her darkest periods. She was still dealing with the depression that had helped tank her marriage when she began dating again, which may be why she chose to link up with the high-spirited Charles Chuck Fegert, a rash decision she connects to her extreme loneliness at the time. Once they did, Fegert seemed to change. He went out partying at all hours of the night, a lifestyle Eden had never enjoyed. As a result, the marriage began to break down much faster than her union with Sarah had. Then, Fegert began getting physical, at which point Eden woke up and finally left the marriage, divorcing him in 1982 after 5 years together.
Need from here while I go into that
Please.
building.
Eden always found a way to work in Hollywood, and she continued her steady stream of appearances through her second marriage, including starring in the movie Harper Valley PTA, as well as its TV version in 1981, right before her second divorce.
It's the season to make Bobby fa la 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 la. Pucker up for Santa.
Why don't you go kiss a reindeer?
I love when you
The show was a hit, and her next endeavour would reunite her with an old friend.
What are you talking about?
It's time to finalize our deal. My half of the company, remember?
The 1980s were kind to Eden's Jeannie co-star Larry Hagman, as he took up the role of villain J.R. Ewing in the massively successful soap opera Dallas. For all his dissatisfaction on Jeannie, Hagman never forgot about Eden, and he paid her back in the end. In 1990, Eden got a recurring role as one of Ewing's nemesis, leading to 5 Dallas episodes where the pair could play off each other once more.
When she got pregnant, the prince turned into a frog, and he threw her out of his life like 5-day-old trash.
In 1991, Eden married her current husband, real estate executive John Eichholz, and by this time she very much needed the support, because yet another part of her family life was going down the drain. As Eden's son Matthew grew up post-divorce, it became increasingly clear that he wasn't coping well with life in general. Although he'd chosen to live with his father after the split, he'd come back to live with Eden after her divorce from Fegard, and while there must have been some hope that the mother and son would help heal each other, by then Matthew was too far gone. As Eden spent day in and day out with her son in the 1980s, she noticed disturbing details. For one, he'd dropped out of the University of California at Santa Barbara and taken up new studies at Valley College. Eden also noted that her son was sleeping a lot and in general had low energy. One day she realised that Matthew had forgotten one of his school books after heading out for the day. She ran to the Valley College campus to give the textbook back to him, which was when she found out through the registrar's office that Matthew wasn't actually enrolled in the school. When she confronted him, he stormed out and was AWOL for months, living mostly on the streets before a friend took him in. Slowly, Eden and Ansara, who was now also alerted to Matthew's issues, began putting together the pieces of the puzzle. Their son was a drug addict. In fact, Eden would soon find out that Matthew had been using since he was 10 years old, just after her divorce from Ansara. Eden and Ansara now jumped headlong into meetings, doctor's appointments, and counselling. As a result of her conversations with professionals, Eden began to believe that tough love was the best approach, and around the time that Matthew began stealing from his parents to score, she kicked him out of the house. For the next 14 years, Matthew was in and out of rehab and up and down emotionally. In the early 2000s, he'd gotten himself clean and was engaged to be married. It all came crashing down one last time. One late June evening in 2001, Matthew's body was found in his parked truck at a gas station near Los Angeles. Eden had spent years waiting for that nightmare call, and she was heartbroken but unsurprised to find her son had died from an overdose. Eden spent long years processing her guilt and anger surrounding her son's addiction and death, and has spoken openly about her grief in the hopes of helping other families like hers.
He'd been away from it for a while. The police told me that probably... I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
You can come over.
Barbara Eden has never been afraid to look back on her life and has reprised or nodded to her role as Jeannie countless times over her long career. At 94 years old, she even continues to attend conventions. But she's also the last of her kind. Larry Hagman died in 2012 of throat cancer, and when Bill Daly, who played Tony's best friend Roger, died in 2018, Eden was the last survivor of I Dream of Jeannie. If you enjoyed this Factinate video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. If you want a say in who we cover next, join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.